Funeral for Lieutenant General Thabiso Mokhosi takes place in Port Elizabeth today. The chief of the South African Army died on the 10th of December in a Pretoria hospital following a short illness. Mokhosi was promoted to the rank of Lieutenant General, allowing him to fill the post of Chief of the Army in October. And prior to his appointment, he served as the General Officer commanding joint operations. Various members from the army and government officials are expected to attend. President Cyril Ramaphosa and the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, have expressed their heartfelt condolences to Lieutenant General Mokhosi's family, friends and relatives. And for more on the funeral, we cross live to our reporter, Jayed-Leigh Paulse. Very good morning to you, Jayed-Leigh. Thank you so much for joining us. How are proceedings so far in remembering the late General Thabiso Mokhosi?
A very good morning to you, Simpiwe, and to the viewers. Well, a very somber day here in Port Elizabeth with the South African National Defence Force burying one of their own. And, just speaking to some of them, the sentiments on the ground that he was a revered man, that he stood for moral fibre, and that also his loss would really affect the Defence Force, as they saw him as a pillar of hope. They saw him as a gallant leader. So that is some of the sentiments that are coming from not only South Africa, but from also abroad. You would know that he also had international links, and he also studied abroad, but also worked abroad. And there's been several messages of condolences coming from countries such as Angola and the west of Africa as well. The proceedings are underway. The coffin has just arrived, Simpiwe. We are at Nangoza JB Hall, and the South African National Defence Force has taken over the funeral. You would know that it's a first state category funeral, with President Cyril Ramaphosa declaring that, but also several dignitaries provincially have also arrived, as well as nationally. We saw the Defence Force, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, also arrive. But I am joined by Brigadier General Mafi Mgoboza, and he's going to be talking about the life and times of Lieutenant General Thabiso Mokhosi. When we just go back to the beginning of his time at the South African National Defence Force and everything that he stood for, just take us through some of his milestones.
Yes, first of all, let me say, as the South African National Defence Force, we have lost the great leader. We cannot say anything about it. He was a great leader. As Lieutenant General Mokhosi, he started his career at Forsyth in one of the respected infantry battalion in the Middelburg in Mpumalanga, where he was a company commander. From there, he grew up with ranks, but the most important thing is that he was the person who is approachable, a leader who was not afraid to take decisions, even if he knows that those decisions are decisions which other people they won't agree, but he put the organization first and took those decisions. At the present moment, you know that he was also a GOC of, before appointed as Chief of the Army, GOC of Joint Ops HQ, which is responsible for the deployment of our troops outside and even in the internal. General Mokhosi role which he played in the SADC countries, SADC brigade, he played an important role there. At DRC at the present moment, we are not only the South African National Defence Force that we have say it was a great loss, but even in the SADC countries and even in the continent, we have lost such a great leader, which I sometimes I will be afraid that, but I will say it will be very difficult to replace him.
And Brigadier Mgoboza, just reading through his biography, one thing that stood out for me is that he also trained many of, the military Defence Force agents on the ground, and he was at the forefront of, training them. And just listening to President Cyril Ramaphosa saying that it will be a great loss because he went at a time where the country needed leaders the most.
Yes, he left us when most of us, we need him, young, brilliant. Yes, we have said he have trained in different countries. In his before integrated in the Defense Force, he trained in USSR, which is a former Soviet Union, Russia, where he trained in the military, infantry, and other mechanized. And he, inside the country, he was an OC of one of the battalions, respected battalion again, one side, where all our mechanized battalion is a home of mechanized battalion, one side. He was the commander of that. It shows that General Mokhosi, he was the one of the best. I cannot say anything. It's a great loss to us as the Defense Force, young, brilliant. One which I will say, unifier, because he also listen to the troops is one of the most important things. He will sit and listen to the troops if they have problem, and then he will solve the problem of the troops. That is why it's not only us, the leadership of the SNDF lost, even the troops on the ground. That is why you see some of them, when you talk about General Mokhosi, some they just cry because they know that it was a great leader.
Thank you so much for sharing the life and times of Lieutenant General Thabiso Mokhosi. That was Brigadier General Mokhosi talking about the life and times of that Lieutenant General who suddenly passed away in a Pretoria hospital earlier this week. We've got several dignitaries here in Port Elizabeth attending the funeral. Brigadier General Mokhosi talking about the gallant leader that he was, and that his loss was not only felt in South Africa but also abroad. Simpiwe, it's back to you in studio.
All right, Jayed-Leigh, thank you so much for your time.